Audie Murphy. You won't believe what happened next. A kid from New York's Lower East Side, skinny, scrappy, and broke, would grow up to punch a grapefruit into movie history, tap dance his way to an Oscar, and still stir up a classic Hollywood debate about what makes a real actor. Meet James Cagney. And yes, we're fixing the names and the facts as we go. Born on the 17th of July, 1899, James Cagney came up in a cramped tenement with an Irish-American family that knew what it meant to hustle. His dad bounced between jobs, his mom kept a busy home together. School wasn't the calling card. He went to Stuyvesant High, and later spent a short stretch at Columbia College. But the stage kept winking at him. First it was dancing, then vaudeville, then small theater gigs, the kind where you're paid in applause and maybe car fare if you're lucky. He didn't chase stardom so much as stumble into it with grit, timing, and that lightning bolt energy no one could teach. When sound crashed the silent film party, plenty of actors floundered. Not James Cagney. He brought a quicksilver, streetwise snap that felt brand new on camera, patter that moved like a subway at rush hour, and eyes that could switch from warm to lethal in half a heartbeat. In 1931, The Public Enemy hit, and boom, he's Tom Powers, the ruthless hood who made audiences gasp and critics wake up. That infamous breakfast moment, the grapefruit smash right into the face of Mae Clarke, became the scene everyone talked about. Wild, shocking, and totally controlled. That was the point. He wasn't just playing tough, he made the tough guy frighteningly human. Off-screen, though, he was the flip side of his image, disciplined, courteous, and loyal. Friends called him a gentleman who preferred a quiet life to the studio circus. He could be fierce at work and soft at home. That contrast is part of why he still hits so hard today. The 1,930 seconds and 40 seconds were his playground. Sure, he could glower and menace with the best of them. Like in Angels with Dirty Faces in 1938, where the end lands like a moral thunderclap. But he could also pivot to charm, comedy, and song without breaking a sweat. Then came the role that rewired how people saw him. George M. Cohan in Yankee Doodle Dandy, 1942. Now, if you've only known James Cagney as the snarling gangster, that movie feels like a magic trick. Tap shoes, brio, heart. He took home the Academy Award for Best Actor, and suddenly, the tough guy label looked way too small for him. Away from the sets and spotlights, he kept life simple. In 1922, he married Frances Willard Billy Vernon, a fellow performer he met while hoofing it in a review. It wasn't some Hollywood fling, it was the long haul, tender, steady, real. They adopted 2 children, James Cagney Jr. and Kathleen Casey Cagney. Fame can make a circus out of breakfast, but he drew a hard boundary around his home. Reporters got a smile and a posed family photo now and then, but the deep stuff stayed behind the fence. He retreated to a farm in Dutchess County, New York, painting, horseback riding, breathing country air. That was his sanctuary. Of course, life doesn't take orders, even from legends. In the early 1,980 seconds, James Cagney Jr. died suddenly of a heart attack, and the two had drifted apart before it happened. That page of the story is quiet, solemn, and complicated, one of those real-life chapters that don't end neatly. It reminds us that even giants are made of the same breakable pieces as the rest of us. His daughter, Kathleen Casey Cagney, would live on for many years after his passing, carrying that legacy with her own blend of grace and grit. Now, here's where the craft collides with controversy. Enter Audie Murphy, Medal of Honor recipient, the most decorated U.S. soldier of World War II, and later, a bankable face in westerns and war films. America saluted him. Studios saw a hero who drew crowds. But while audiences respected Audie Murphy's bravery, not everyone hailed his acting chops. And that's where James Cagney, the meticulous performer who sweated the truth of every line, got prickly. He wasn't taking shots at a veteran. He was drawing a line between battlefield heroism and stage or screen craft. To him, the camera wasn't a parade ground. It was a microscope. You didn't earn your close-up with medals. You earned it with honesty, control, timing, vulnerability. Was he blunt about that? Oh yeah. People who knew him say he could be salty in private about Hollywood's habit of crowning the most marketable face rather than the most truthful performance. He respected Audie Murphy, the man. How could you not? But he bristled at what the trend represented. A studio machine willing to blur talent with publicity. It wasn't personal, it was philosophical. In his view, audiences deserve the real thing, not just a poster with good optics. That argument, craft versus celebrity, has never quit Hollywood. Swap the names, and it's the same conversation people have today. Do we value training, range, and depth? Or do we chase the algorithm? James Cagney pinned his flag to the craft. Watch him in Yankee Doodle Dandy, and you feel the pulse of someone who worked for every beat. Watch him in The Public Enemy, and you see restraint used like a razor. That, to him, was the job. By the early 1960 seconds, he stepped back, content to let the work speak for itself. But he wasn't done forever. He came back for a victory lap in ragtime, 1981, delivering a final reminder that presence isn't something you can fake. It's earned. Not long after, a late-century reappraisal crowned his status once more. In a major industry ranking, James Cagney landed among the top classic screen legends, 8th among the men. An honor that felt less like hype and more like a head nod from history. His last chapter played out where he felt most himself, the farm. On Easter Sunday, March 30, 1986, James Cagney passed away at 86 inches, Stanfordville, Dutchess County. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. Easter, a day of renewal, for a man whose work refuses to age. His funeral mass was held at Street Francis de Sales in Manhattan, where the city that had shaped him gathered to say goodbye. Not with blaring spotlights, but with reverence, with gratitude, with stories about a guy who could terrify you on screen, then ask you about your kids when the camera cut. So, what do we do with the paradox? The gentle soul who played villains, the song and dance man who could stare down a mobster, the craftsman who questioned a hero's place at center stage? We hold it all. That's the lesson. James Cagney believed acting was sacred because it dealt in truth, and truth takes work. You can't short-circuit it with applause or headlines or a studio's marketing memo. Either it's there, or it isn't. All right, your turn. Which James Cagney performance do you think captures his truth best? The searing edge of The Public Enemy, or the joyful spark of Yankee Doodle Dandy? Drop your pick in the comments. And if you dig this kind of deep-dive storytelling, where we cut through the hype and chase the craft, tap like, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for hanging out. See you in the next one.